I'm like just trying to figure out how to be a pop star, like my way. You know what I mean? Because like at first I like rejected it. I was like, I'm not a pop star. And then like I kind of became one and was like, okay, well I guess that's what I am now. And like did it too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Triple J. Yeah.
This was your first ever American Music Award. You took out Best Pop Rock Song with your tune Without Me.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was really awesome. It was like the AMAs are like fan voted. So it's like, you get this moment where like, yeah, I feel like every artist has this internal battle where you're like, you don't care what critics think, but then like you also do because they're critics for a reason. So they're like supposed to know what's good and what's not. And then you're reminded like if like someone told me once like don't pay attention to numbers and records. They were like if you do a concert and the fans are singing louder than you are, then you're doing great. And that was like the best piece of advice I've ever gotten. I was like, oh. And now I think about that all the time. I was like, okay, I'm doing okay. So it's like, it's really them that matters, you know?
Absolutely. And you touched on that in your speech as well. People were talking about this one online. It was very impassioned. And
Yeah.
while you were obviously really grateful,
Totally.
you did kind of talk about how growing up and, becoming a musician, this was something
Yeah.
that you saw as important. Awards are important. But in hindsight, now you're kind of thinking, they aren't the be all and end all. Why was it important for you to express that?
I mean, I think it's because you do go along thinking that like that's the only form of validation that you get. And then like, you start to become kind of hip to the game. Like there is like sometimes a bit of a game like of like, are you gonna show up? Are you gonna perform? Are you gonna do this? And like that's, what is an indication of whether or not you're gonna get the award. And it's like you start to become hip to that and it's like everyone keeps it a secret and it's like really happening. And like I was kind of just like, I'm not going to keep it a secret. This is total BS. And I care about what my fans think more than anything. But the AMAs gave them a platform to express that, like one of the things I'm really looking forward to about the Arias is that like you guys have such a homegrown music industry, obviously being kind of like isolated in like a little way, like not
All the way down here.
I hope that's not offensive, but it's true. And so, the gratitude and the expression is authentic because, you guys have your own central community where you're like celebrating other members of your community. So like I'm looking forward to watching that because it's not like it's not, the type of show that I was shading. You know what I mean? It's a little different.
No, absolutely. And have you copped any flack? For
Yeah,
that
of
shading?
course. I cop flack for everything I do, always. So I'm just used to it at this point. But no, I mean, the whole intention of the speech was to really express how awesome the AMAs are for giving fans a voice, and they knew that. So they were like, really happy with the speech and everything. They weren't super happy I cursed on live television. But they let it slide because I also was like gave them a massive shout out at the end.
Of course.
Yeah, so I got away with it, but I was in my dressing room going, "Oh my god, I said I cursed on TV. Oh my gosh, I thought I was gonna be in serious trouble." Yeah.
Well, you can potentially curse on Triple J. I won't be mad.
Oh, I would literally said shit so loud. I said it so loud, and as soon as it came out of my mouth, and what's funny is like my little brother was sitting in front of me. He's 21. And his face when I said it, because he was who I was looking at, like, because he was keeping me calm, like, through the whole thing. And his eyes, like, sprung open when I said it. And it was almost like it took me back to when we were little kids. And it was like I said a bad word, and he, like, his eyes open, like he thought my mom was going to hear us.
I'm going to tell mom.
Yeah, it, like, totally took me back to that place. And I was like, my little brother just heard me say, like, a bad word. Like, it was so funny.
Is he someone that's kept you grounded and kept you calm for a lot of your career?
Definitely Savion. My brother is definitely one of those people. He's 21 and he's like, he does like he's my biggest fan, but he also isn't afraid to tell me that he doesn't think anything I do is cool, which is like you need that sometimes, is someone to be like, yeah, you're not that cool. Like, he posted a photo from the awards last night and it was like me and Taylor and him, and he's like artist of the decade, artist of the next decade, and Savion. And like about himself. And I was like, all right, buddy, like, okay. So like, he's always doing stuff like that. That's like really funny and like keeps me grounded. My little brother Dante is 14 and he's like the real like comic relief in my life. Cause like I'll be texting in like my family group chat, right? And I'll be like, like we were talking about something. I think we were talking about the AMAs. We were talking about how I'd got this nomination for Artist of the Year and this nomination for Best Pop Song and all this stuff in and how I was doing this performance and all this stuff in the group chat. And like everyone was like, cool, 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 cool. And then my little brother, who was 14, was like, that's awesome. By the way, did I mention that I got named the manager for the basketball team at my school? And everyone was like, whoa, dude, that's so sick. And I just remember being like, oh yeah, nothing means anything.
Yep.
Like this is what's important in his world, and it's hilarious and awesome. And it's like keeps me like, oh yeah, like he's excited to go to high school. He's a freshman and like he wants to be the basketball manager for the junior varsity basketball team. And like he was so excited to share that information after I was like talking about this like award show. It was just so funny. Like
Did he
keeps me
cut
really-
your grass in the group chat?
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because I was sharing with my friends and they were like, and his name's Dante. My brother's name is Dante. And they were like, if you don't have a Dante in your life, then you are the Dante.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, like you're doing it to other people. That means.
Oh, you
I
need it
know.
on a shirt.
Right?
Really bring you back down to earth.
I know.
So your new album, Manic, is coming out January 17. Where did this all start for you?
I wrote Nightmare and I put Nightmare out in May. And I kind of got this like I got this like anger out of me. I like really wanted to make this like angsty record. And I kind of thought that was the direction the whole album was going to go in. So I was like, okay, I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm mad. I want to make this like thrasher punk album. And then I got in the studio because I knew I wanted to title the album Manic. I knew that much. And my like perception of mania at that time was that. It was like angry and untrustworthy and angsty and like all this stuff. And then I sat down to write and I wasn't writing anything. Nothing was coming up that felt like real. It all felt kind of like performative anger. And I was, for me, I'm not going to put out anything that's performative. So I was like, this isn't it. So I really had to sit down and kind of like do some internal reflection about what being manic meant to me. And I kind of almost had to like make peace with her because I've like, for a long time felt like I didn't like that version of myself. She gets me in trouble. People don't like me when I'm like that. They think I'm irresponsible or I'm going to cause a problem and I'm not reliable. I'm not trustworthy. And so I've kind of always just like hated her. It's been like, oh God, like I'm feeling manic, like it's a problem. And then I started to kind of like forgive that part of me a little bit. And then the album just completely changed shape. It became like really colorful and really organic. And it almost has like a sense of humor. Kind of, which was really rare for me because I think in the past I've taken myself so seriously, and who can blame me? I was 19 years old and I was putting out my first album and I just wanted everyone to take me seriously, so I thought that meant I had to take myself supremely seriously too. But it made me realize I was missing out on like a whole part of myself that I was like sheltering by like only showing the parts that I could take really seriously. So this album's like a little more like, it's a little more tongue-in-cheek. So it's kind of like I make fun of myself a lot, and it's like really the narration is really unreliable. I'm like saying one thing and then I'm saying the next, and it's almost entirely live. Like the instruments are, at least they're organic. So like I used to make like really synthy dark kind of stuff, like more electronic leaning, and all this new stuff is like live drums, live piano, live guitar, all recorded at my house. Because the album is supposed to feel like it was about me. It's about a human. So I wanted to sound like a human made it instead of a computer, kind of, if that makes any sense. Which I know is so hipster of me to be like, I want it to be so analog, like, but I did. So that's what it is.
Speaking of the live aspect of this record, I remember the last time you were in, you talked about how you used to fantasize about playing to festival crowds and how you really wanted to encompass that passion and that unbridled energy. Do you think with the remainder of the songs we're yet to hear on this album, you've really encompassed that live aspect?
I think so. I'm looking forward to playing this album live because I get to feel like a musician again. I think I went through a phase like on my second album where I thought I had to be, I'm like just trying to figure out how to be a pop star, like my way. You know what I mean? Because like at first I like rejected it. I was like, I'm not a pop star. And then like I kind of became one and was like, okay, well I guess that's what I am now. And like did it too much. And then had to like reel it back in where it's like, okay, I kind of need to pick and choose my battles wisely, where it's like, yeah, I'm doing like, big arena production shows, but that doesn't mean I need to be in like sparkly boots with like a ponytail. Like, and that's not shade to anyone. That's what I was doing on my last tour, is I was like in a ponytail with like sparkly boots and like, like princess waving at everybody. And then I had a moment where I was like, okay, hold on, that's not it either. So I've kind of reeled it back in where it's like, I get to be a pop star in some ways, but then I also get to feel like that kind of like small indie musician that I was when I started, because I never really intended to get here, like where I'm at. I never really saw myself playing shows past like a couple thousand people. So it's like that story was like totally unwritten. So I was like playing catch up as it was happening, because I like didn't know. I had like everything planned out until a certain point, and then it all started growing, and I was like, oh god, like what do I do? And the show was one of those things, because it just kept getting bigger. So this one is like, the album is written for me to play guitar on stage, play piano on stage, like have multi-instrumentalists in the show, whether it's like, you know, people playing strings or people playing auxiliary, like all these different kinds of drums, like timpani drums outside of like a normal drum kit, and like giving my band an opportunity to feel like the real musicians, where the show is like a living, breathing thing, and it's changing every night, and it's not this like perfectly choreographed like thing, you know? Because I had done so much of that, where I did the perfectly choreographed show where it was the exact same every single night. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. So I'm just like trying to find new ways to let this show feel like we're musicians, and not like we are like doing a recital. You know what I mean? Where we need to like hit all our marks, where it can afford to be kind of just nuanced, I guess. So the record is written with the intent for like nuance. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's something that's exemplary in the songs. I think, you know, when I play these songs out on Triple J, even the text line says, this is so relatable, you know?
Awesome.
And I think Graveyard obviously is quite a personal story for you.
Yeah.
The single before that, like you said, Anger. You really brought that female experience out.
Yeah.
How does it feel bearing your soul? And is it difficult at times?
Yeah, it's super difficult. Oh gosh, Manic is like really personal album, and like I think that's why I started with Graveyard as like my first real lead single off the album. Because you know, I put out Nightmare, and then I decided to keep it off the record, and everyone was like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Because it's not what it's about anymore." And then I kind of started over with Graveyard, where it was like, Graveyard is my favorite kind of Halsey song, because it sounds really happy, but secretly it's really dark. That's like one of my favorite tricks that I like to play. Because you know, you got this like da 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 da, and you're like, oh cool. And the lyric is like about loving someone so much and wanting their approval so desperately that you could literally get yourself killed. And for a lot of people, that means different things. Like I know girls who have like dieted themselves almost to death because their boyfriend wanted them to be skinny. And I know guys who have gone out and like drank and done drugs and done whatever, trying to keep up with their girlfriend and her friends, or like whatever it is, just like all these things. Like you get in the car with someone who drives drunk and you're too embarrassed to say no because you don't want them to get mad. Or like, you know, your partner's like violent, or just any of these things where you're just like putting yourself in positions that like you're writing off as like, it's not that big of a deal, it's not that big of a deal, and it's like could literally kill you. You know what I mean?
Missing the red flags.
Totally. And that's why in the bridge I say it's funny how the warning signs can feel like they're butterflies. It was something my mom said to me when I was going through a breakup, because I remember I was on the couch, I was like wrapped up in a blanket. I was on FaceTime with my mom, and I was like, how could I have missed this? Like everything was so good. I remember when I first met them, they gave me butterflies, and she was like, that was your first red flag. I was like, what are you talking about? Butterflies are good. It means you like them, you have a crush. She was like, butterflies are bad. I was like, how are butterflies bad? She was like, well, like you shouldn't be nervous about someone liking you. You shouldn't be hanging on to their approval like it's a hit of some drug. Like, you know, when they text you back and you're worried if they're going to be nice or not, and then they're nice and you're like, yes, like you shouldn't be worried if the person you love is going to be nice to you or not. Or you wear something out and they compliment you and you're like, oh yes, another one, and you're like pocketing these little compliments and your heart's rushing in your chest and you're like, get this adrenaline rush every time they're nice to you. That's manipulation. That's not love. And that's your body's, that anxiety, those butterflies, is your body's way of warning you that this is not okay. And at the time I was like, screw you, Mom. You don't know what you're talking about. And then like a year later of growth, I'm like, I started dating again, and like, I was like really calm, and like, I wasn't worried about them texting me back because I knew they liked me. And I wasn't worried about what they were going to think about what I wore when I left the house, because I knew that they didn't care what I looked like. They liked me for who I was. And I was experiencing this safe, comfortable relationship. And I remember thinking, oh my God, my mom was right. She was totally right. And that's kind of what inspired that part of the song. So shout out my mom one time. Moms with advice, man. Listen to your moms.
Listen to your mums.
Yeah.
So we are getting Manic in January, but what does the rest of 2019 look like for you? Well, we're almost at the end, aren't we?
We are, but I have 2 new songs coming. I know. That's actually, nobody knows that yet. This is an exclusive. You guys just got, so that's cool. 2 new songs coming and a music video. And then at the start of the new year, right around, the album coming out, there's will be a bunch of stuff coming at the top of January. I couldn't load up the end of 2018 because I had to start off the year great. And then I'm coming back here for Falls Festival on literally like the week of New Year's Eve. So I'm going to be that's how I'm starting my year. It's right here in Australia.
Starting the new decade in Australia.
I know. Ooh, don't say that.
Very
Scary.
exciting.
New decade. Oh, we're all getting old.
Where do you see Halsey heading in the next decade?
Hopefully to sleep. At some point.
With a nap, yeah.
Yeah. I always tell everyone, I'm like, I'm so transparent. I'm like, I don't know how much of this I got left in me. Everyone's always like, I'm going to be doing it forever. I'm like, I might not be. Like, we'll see. I'm going to put out Manic, and then I'll probably put out another album, and then who knows, maybe I'll never make music ever again. We'll see.
Well, I hope that's not the case. Halsey, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for letting me ramble about my music for a little bit.
My pleasure.
Yay.